The deadlift is the closest thing to a perfect exercise that is known to man. Most people know this lift builds strength and muscle mass, but what most people don't know is that deadlifts can also increase your metabolic rate. They can increase your cardiovascular health. They can boost your testosterone, and they can also increase your bone density. The origin of the deadlift is cloaked in mystery. No one knows for sure when or who invented it. However, most strength historians agree that it was invented sometime in the 1800s by the strongmen of that era. Whoever invented it had no clue just how important their discovery was. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you why exactly this movement is so important, and then I'm going to teach you how to properly execute it so that you can go out and start gaining these benefits ASAP. The first benefit I'm going to tell you about is the effect that it has on your basal metabolic rate, otherwise known as BMR. Your BMR is the number of calories that your body burns per day while performing its bare minimum functions. One way to increase your BMR is to increase the total amount of muscle mass you have. The more muscle mass you have, the more calories you need to sustain that mass. The deadlift is a tried and true way to pack on pounds of muscle when performed properly over a reasonable amount of time. So basically, the more muscle that you build, the more fat you will burn, assuming your calories stay constant. The next benefit I'm going to tell you about is the effect deadlifts have on your cardiovascular system. VO2 max describes the amount of oxygen that your body can use while exercising at max capacity and is a great indicator of cardiovascular health and performance. Strength training has proven to increase VO2 max in multiple studies. And deadlifts are the building blocks of any great strength program. Strength training has even been shown to improve aerobic performance for endurance athletes, which is definitely a good sign that it helps to improve the cardiovascular system. Studies have shown that performing compound movements with large muscle groups increases serum levels of testosterone. Testosterone is a very important sex hormone that is crucial for the body processes in men and women. Testosterone levels have been plummeting in our population, and many people suffer every day due to low levels of testosterone. Symptoms of low testosterone include low sex drive, erectile dysfunction, decreased sense of well-being, depression, fatigue, irritability, and loss of muscle mass and strength. Although deadlifts won't cure someone with low testosterone, it will certainly help to set them on the right track. The last benefit I'm going to share with you is the effect deadlifts have on bone density. Studies have shown that deadlifts increase bone mineral density in males and may provide a slight increase for females. This increase in bone density is a result of the stimulus garnered from deadlifts. Our body uses our blood system to transport the necessary hormones and nutrients to the working muscles and bones so that they can build back stronger and adapted to this stimulus. Osteoporosis is a horrible disease that weakens your bone mineral density until your bones are so brittle that they can break under the smallest of traumas. Many people suffer from this and have to live a much lower quality of life as a result. When applied properly, deadlifts can be a valuable tool in preventing someone from developing this disease. So now that you know more about all of that the deadlift can do for you, it's time to learn exactly how to perform this the correct way. Now there are a few different variations of the deadlift. Each of these target slightly different muscles and come with unique benefits. The different variations are conventional, Romanian, stiff-legged, and sumo. In this video, I'll be teaching you how to perform the conventional deadlift, as it is the original version of the deadlift, and it is the most important to learn how to perform. Although, I would recommend learning the other variations and experimenting with those to see what one works best for you and your goals. The conventional deadlift consists of 3 different stages. First is the setup. Next is the pull or drive, as some refer to it as. Then is the lockout. And lastly, the eccentric portion, which just simply means lowering the weight back down to the starting position from the top. To begin the setup, you want to drive your hips back as far as they can go as your torso starts to drop slightly forward. Next, you want to start lowering your hips and start entering into slight knee flexion. As you lower towards the bar, reach down and grab the bar at shoulder width while maintaining a perpendicular angle to the floor with your arms. I prefer using a double overhand grip, but you can also use a mixed grip with one hand facing you and one hand facing away from you. Although I would be careful while performing max load deadlifts because you can easily tear a bicep if not done correctly. Once you have your grip set, pull the bar closer to you as you engage your lats, ensuring to maintain a vertical line with your arms. At this point, you want to allow your knees to come slightly forward until they lightly touch the bar. The last step of the setup is to take a deep breath and isometrically contract your core and the rest of your back muscles to help create a solid foundation for the next phase. At this point, you want the center of your gravity to align with the bar and your scapula. So now that you have the setup all ready to go, you're going to want to take the slack out of the bar. This is to prevent injuries and to ensure that your first pull is against the full resistance of the plates in the bar and not just the low resistance provided by the slack in the bar. Starting the pull with a yank without first taking out the slack may also mess up your setup. Once you have taken the slack out of the bar, pull up hard against the load with your chest leading the way up while holding your spinal erectors and lower back in an isometric contraction to maintain a neutral spine position. You want to extend your knees as you rise to make room for the pathway of the bar, which should be traveling in a straight line up from the floor as close as possible to your shins. As the bar passes your knees, you want to start to thrust your hips forward into extension as you approach the lockout. As you near lockout, you should still be leading with your chest high. As you reach the lockout, retract your scapula slightly as you contract your glutes and lats fully. You have reached full lockout when your body is in a totally upright position while still holding the bar. Now that you have reached lockout position, you want to first initiate the eccentric phase by moving your hips back while maintaining tension on your back muscles. Continue to enter farther hip flexion, and once the bar gets close to your knees, start moving your knees forward in flexion as your hips drop further so the bar has room to pass by the knees while traveling in a straight line down close to your shins. Your knees should travel to the beginning position during this phase. Let the bar rest on the ground and ensure all elastic energy leaves the bar before starting your next rep. Now that you know each step in executing the deadlift, I'm going to give you a few tips that might help you become more successful at performing them. Since the deadlift is a compound movement, it comes with a ton of fatigue for your body. I suggest not performing a heavy deadlift session more than 2 times per week to avoid too much fatigue accumulation. Your performance will likely suffer from too much fatigue, and it will also increase your chances of getting hurt, which will for sure hurt your performance. The next tip I have is to ensure you are properly warmed up before attempting a deadlift. This is also to avoid injuries and will help your performance. The last tips I have are about equipment and what you should wear to help you. If you don't have any pre-existing feet conditions, I recommend wearing a flat-soled shoe like Chuck Taylor's or Vans. These flat soles will allow you to create a more solid foundation for you to pull from and will increase your success at pulling from the ground. Wearing high socks is also a good idea as they protect your shins from being scraped against the bar during the pull and eccentric phases. Lifting straps are a fairly cheap way to increase your performance as they help you increase your grip strength so that it isn't a limiting factor on how much you can actually lift. Although I would recommend training at least one heavy deadlift just to maintain your grip strength. The last thing that I would recommend is looking into a good lifting belt. A lifting belt provides you with something to brace against when pulling and can increase performance while also preventing you from injury. So now that I've taught you all the benefits of the deadlift and how to properly execute them, I think it's time for you to go out and try them yourself. Just make sure you start with a low weight and work your way up because you want to make sure perfect form above all else. I hope you get amazing gains and I wish you all the best. Good luck in your deadlifting adventure.